some remote participants. Meredith and Leo, why don't we start with you, just saying here, please.
Leo Brem here.
Meredith Chamberlain here.
Robert Wood here.
John Messina here.
Carolyn Casey here.
Bob Meany here.
Bill Werner here.
Teresa James here.
Tony Papatonis here.
Michelle Kirkby here.
And Mike Weber here. All right, let's start. I got a note from Brittany in regards to remote meetings and the Mass General Law. We can still do what we're doing, which is great, but it appears that the quorum needs to be in person as of April 1. So our meetings have been pretty much in person, which has been great, you know, as far as quorum goes. So having a couple people remote is not a problem. It just means the majority needs to be in person, or else the meeting can't happen, it sounds like. So we'll just need to be mindful of that. I know, like, summertime or something like that, if we wanted to do a remote meeting, we may not be able to. Sounds like.
Unless the legislation passes, and then we'll.
Unless they
then
change it, right, they have.
Oh, they might. Okay.
They're still trying to work it out, but it hasn't even gone to committee yet.
I mean, I don't know why they wouldn't. It works really well. And it's recorded. It's not like it's a big deal. But. All right, let's do. Everyone get a copy of the meeting minutes from just one set of meeting minutes from last week, or last meeting in January. Yes, no
Yes.
Yes.
comments.
I had two changes, two numbers that I think might not be correct. One is in the first big paragraph, where Pete, it says Mr. Michelson thinks maybe we go for the larger size enrollment of 575. And that's not the larger size on future things?
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. I think that
I
we
think
should
he-
just scratch enrollment of 575.
Yeah, I think it was 475 was what,
I think his general comment was to err on the side of being larger
yeah.
as opposed to smaller.
And then we could just take out all the words in parentheses.
That's what I think too.
And then my other second change was when Christine was talking about what we need for the feasibility study, she said we have 1.1, but the minutes actually say 1.5.
We have 1.5. Well, we will have 1.5.
We will, but you
Will.
were telling us what we had and what we'll need. So I didn't want anyone to be confused that we actually already have 1.5. And I'm trying to find where that is. But here it is. It says we have 1.5 right now, and it should be 1.1. So it's in the last paragraph before the underlined parts, which makes no sense. For the section called upcoming meeting dates, it's the last in there.
Okay.
I don't know, do we tell someone? I don't even know. Do we tell someone, or is it just recorded here and then they know? Who does the minutes? Like, how do they get?
Brittany will let them know.
Brittany, get one.
Yeah.
Those are
If
the
somebody
only,
can just send her what that is, we'll take care of it.
I should send it to Brittany?
Yep, just send it to Brittany, we'll take care of it. Yeah.
Okay, so that was just two things that I saw.
Do you mind just writing that?
Yeah, I'll take care of that.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Brittany.
Any other comments? Okay. Actually, Meredith, you were at that meeting, were you not? At least you were remote. No? Okay.
Yeah,
All
she
right.
was remote.
Meredith.
Meredith, you were remote last time.
I think in January you.
Sorry, I couldn't hear that.
She was at her camp.
You were remote last time, right?
She
Okay.
was supposed to call in.
No, I had a work event,
All right.
that's why I was absent.
Yeah.
All right, so then the attendance is correct, okay. All right, I will hear a motion to approve the meeting minutes as modified by Carolyn.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
you want to start, Leo, please?
Leo Brem, yes.
Meredith Chamberlain abstain.
John Cena, yes.
Carolyn Casey, yes.
Bob Meany, yes.
Bill Werner, yes.
Teresa James, yes.
Tony Papantonis, yes.
Michelle Kirkby, yes.
Mike Weber, yes. All right, thank you. All right. Going to our agenda today, kind of light, but that's okay. We've got a couple of things we want to discuss really, and it's in regards to well, let's do this first. The town meeting article.
Yes, Carolyn, I just sent it to you. So I have been working with MSBA on this, and they are very specific in how they want it written, so we don't really have much choice. So, you can,
Did you send the SBC or my Gmail? That's okay, I've got my Gmail up, just, I don't see it yet.
Gmail I just sent it to Gmail, sorry.
So
I apologize, I printed off copies and then proceeded to leave them on the copy.
So just out of curiosity, the money that we have appropriated so far, if it wasn't voted in with the same language, does that matter?
No, so I'll show you there, so they have very specific article language, and then in their motion, they want us to appropriate the 400 and then list all the other prior appropriations, so that we have the total of the 1.5 in that one
Okay.
Article. What I think is going to be confusing, or I need to do some education about, is it says in the motion and references it in the article that it's reimbursable, and it's not. We're doing this again, so I talked to them and they said, that's just the standard language, and you'll have to communicate to everybody, it's not going to be reimbursable.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
So just confuse everybody.
yeah, that's great,
Okay.
yeah, yeah,
I'm waiting for it to come in, okay.
sorry,
Slow.
yeah,
I sent it to myself here, but
it's just slow anyway.
yeah.
And we need to read this and vote on it tonight, correct? Because,
Yeah, I mean, I can show you the model for it, it's exactly the same as we had last year, only references MSBA pretty much.
Okay.
It's the exact same language, the purpose of the feasibility study, but we have to use their format. So I'm
Okay.
just gonna show you what the format is.
Ugh, sorry.
It would be quicker for me to run back to the town hall, seriously.
I don't know why it's not. Hold on. You know what? Nah, I can't share over here because I'm not.
Okay, Bill, it's time. Get the AV
Do you want me to send it to you?
card out.
Yeah,
Well,
send it to me and then I'll
the
connect to
email's
Zoom.
coming in at all?
The Gmail came in, it's just that this didn't.
you can
so
share off the Gmail. Please share your screen.
Yeah, let me do that. Hold, let me do that. Let me just.
It's probably not set up for you to share.
I think it is. If she's here, it can be.
I had Abe log me out and in again though, so just make sure that.
Make sure you're a panelist, yeah.
You're not on here
You're
right
on there.
now. Or,
Post?
Make a make co-host.
As long as you're a panelist, you should be fine. Go to the bottom under share, see the little arrow next to share.
Me?
Yep.
No, it's not gonna be on my screen, it's gonna be on Karen.
Right here. No, just to give her permission.
Ready?
Yeah. Alright, here we go. There we go.
Yeah. So this is the format that they would like us to use. What's highlighted in yellow is where we will put in exactly the wording that we had in last year's article, which lists all the ways in which we could spend the money on the feasibility study.
Okay. Let's see if the town.
So it is confusing and it's gonna lead people to believe that we're getting money back for this.
I'm still a little fuzzy on that, Christine. Why is it that we should not put a motion out there that says we're being reimbursed if we're not?
MSBA said if you wanna be a part of this project, this is the only motion that they will accept.
Did that come from our handler or from the board themselves?
It came from Carly, I assume, who were.
It was her lawyers is
It's
what
her,
I saw.
yeah, it's her, the legal counsel of the board.
Just doesn't make any sense, why are you asking? us
Legal
this?
counsel advised us to put in a motion that's not
No,
true.
Not their legal counsel, not our legal counsel, their legal counsel asked us to put it in there.
I guess that's what I'm questioning. Their legal counsel asked us to put forward something that's not true for a vote, for a public vote at a public town meeting.
Yeah.
I mean, that just sounds,
So does that,
Oh,
that
no,
bottom
I'm sorry,
statement
this
says,
version changed it.
Oh,
We acknowledge we will not receive reimbursement. This is
Like
this is the most updated,
odd-
I apologize. The first version said we would be reimbursed.
okay.
Oh, yeah, here it is, down here, sorry,
Yep.
down here, guys.
So it's the
Further,
new
the city town acknowledges will not receive reimbursement from the
Okay.
MSBA for costs incurred
That
during
makes more
feasibility
sense.
study.
Alright.
So what I sent back to them is this, because we're not borrowing the amount. So they gave me certain, you can see the brackets that I'm allowed to fill in. We're not borrowing this money, so I just sent them back a message this morning and asked if we could change that language because we're not borrowing. So I don't want any borrowing authorization in there.
Okay.
So as soon as we hear back from them, we can pull that section of it out.
So
So that's
you-
just the motion, you're not voting on the motion, just the warrant article language.
Right.
Talk to me on that, so that's the top of it, maybe?
That's the top, yeah.
Alright,
just
so
the
just
article.
scroll up, so we just need to vote on the article language.
Yep.
See if the town will vote to appropriate, borrow, or transfer from available funds an amount of money to be expended upon the direction of the school building committee
And then it'll
For-
be the exact description that was in last year's warrant.
for the feasibility study, of a new Dale Street School, whatever that says.
Yeah, I
you
don't
know,
think I have the version, I just
For which
have the description.
whatever Adams Street,
Let me see.
for which feasibility study the town may be eligible, a grant from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, the MSB's grant program is not entitlement, just make sure I put that. I have no problem with that, do we need to fill it in order to vote on it, or if we vote on this and?
I think you can vote on the language pending my filling it in, I'll send you a version, we have it. The version I printed out in the office has all of this in there. Unfortunately, they gave it to me in Word and I don't have that on this,
Okay,
so I apologize.
so how do you guys wanna handle that, are you good with just voting on the article?
I think we should vote on it, and we can put a line that says, subject
Yeah,
to
I will
to
fill in
anything
all, everything for
Christine
you.
needs to fill in and add to it.
We don't have a choice anyways, and we wanna get it into town meeting, so let's just make our lives easier, right?
can I ask a dumb
Right.
question?
Probably not done.
A little dumb. So, like, we have we use some very small amount.
Yep.
Are we gonna ask for 400,000 plus really small amount, so we get back up to 1.5 even, or are we gonna be at 1,498?
1498. 400,000 is what's been, accounted for in this year's budget.
Okay. I assume that's fine with everybody, that we don't have a full 1.5, we have something,
Well,
pass around the hat, get up to 1.5?
that's a real good question, because we actually don't know what that cost is gonna be. What we're gonna do is put out an RFP for whatever we have in that kitty at that point.
So let's say it takes 1.5, and then come August, we wanna pay a PR firm to do something, or we need to get stuff, and we don't seem to have any money. Is there a way for us to get money at that point? A big step.
I think the answer to that question is no, until the next town meeting.
That's a year.
Right now.
That's a little worrisome, because that's a year when we want to be in different places advertising and sending out things to people.
Well, we can also hold back money, let's say we have 1.4, let's just round figures, we have 1.5, but it's, we could say, we could put out an RFP for 1.41 and leave $90,000 as like a extras. I mean, there are environmental costs that are, you know what I mean, there are other things that we had to pay for last time,
Oh, during the feasibility?
during the feasibility cycle.
Oh. Do you think when people said 1.5, they were thinking about those pieces?
I don't remember.
And that works too, I mean, it's not all gonna be spent in the entire, like, let's just say you get an RFP and it's for 1.5, you're not spending that all this year.
That's a good point as well.
You're spending over the course of a couple of years, but I don't know if you can commit to something without having, like, can we encumber more than 1.5 if we don't have authorization for it yet?
I can give you some insight on what I've learned this week as I've been doing my own RFS for my Dayton Elementary project, which is about a 550 student elementary school. Told an OPM should cost me between $350,000 and $400,000 for the feasibility. The designer between $600,000 and $700,000, and then the rest for any kind of testing and other pieces. So, so 1.1, 1.2, I think, for those two items, puts us in a decent spot where we should have some reusable material for testing and other things from the previous project. I think, 1.5 should be, ample.
And then if we get this money and we don't use all of it for feasibility, can we use it for other things related obviously to
Yeah, I think
informing people that kind
that
of thing?
full
It'll be
description that
returned.
we've been putting in there has always included all of the other things we may wanna do.
Okay, so
as part
then,
of that.
all right, so we need just to keep that in mind, this has to be part of our planning, that I don't think we're gonna drain ourselves down to zero when we're gonna be spending a year trying to get
Yeah,
information out.
I think you're right. I think Leo made a good point though too, where there is some reusable stuff, and there may be a negotiation, right, where we can say, how much more funds should, when you're interviewing OPMs, how much more architects, what should we expect to pay for on top of your fee, right?
Yeah, the process goes, you're not asking for money until after your interview. So the process begins, you go through an interview process. So we have to elect a subcommittee to an OPM selection committee, which is a subset of this committee. That committee will go through that process. When it gets posted, we will select people from RFPs without dollars. And then once you've selected the ones you want to interview, the dollars come last, and then there's a selection. So, and you can then ask for and give an extension for a baffle or best and final. So there is that opportunity for that. But those were the ballpark numbers I was given from an OPM as I was tapped into for some advice. And this is one we don't know, just FYI, this is outside of the Medfield realm. So, with that and knowing that we have, there's a bit of Medfield premium on there, I'm sure, of course, from the area, but then there's also we do have a lot of testing that we can reuse and a lot of materials we can use because it is current. I'm hopeful that we're above where we need to be at the 1.5.
Okay. Alright, I'm good with the article then.
Everybody,
Any other comments, questions? So we're looking for a vote, or a motion for a vote, to approve the article language, with the expectation that Christine's gonna fill in the yellow stuff, based on, last year's warrant article. Do I hear a motion to,
I'll make the motion to do just what you just said.
great,
Second.
great. I'll start, Mike Weber, yes.
Michelle Kirkby, yes?
Tony Papantonis, yes.
Teresa James, yes.
Bill Warner, yep.
Bob Meany, yes.
Carolyn Casey, yes?
John Messina, yes. Robert Worth, yes.
Leo,
Leo Brem, yes.
Meredith,
Meredith Chamberlain, yes.
great. Alright. And, if you guys want, Christine, do you mind just sending us all the final language of that article whenever you have it?
Yeah, I'll send it as soon as I get back to the office tonight.
Yeah, no problem. It doesn't have to be tonight. Alright, the next part we wanted to go through, which candidly, Bill and Robert already kinda did for us, which is pretty awesome. Carolyn, can you share your screen again? Do you have that email I sent you? Or can you not get into your Medfield email?
No, hold on, let me just, change emails.
So, what I'd like to kind of do, what we talked about last time is, alright, we have a 1,922 page document, which is basically the PSR, the preferred schematic design, which is a culmination of the feasibility study, right? We talked about kind of dissecting lots of that into what can and can't be reused. So we had three categories: what can be reused, what can't be reused, and what can be reused but modified, right? It's basically what we talked about looking at.
Do you want this?
No, not that one, sorry.
Oh. Which one?
It's the one, just sent it to you.
You just sent it?
Yeah, from my Gmail account.
To everybody?
No, just to you.
Okay, I got my own Ford article finally came.
Uh,
Hold on.
I think it was, subject was, sorry, I'm having a hard time here.
Yeah, you tell me the subject, but it should be right here if I don't see it.
Old feasibility study?
This is the actual file, or?
It was just the link, yeah.
I have it downloaded if it's,
Alright, why don't we just, promote Bill then?
Wait a minute, I myself have, hold on, is this the
It's-
document you were looking for?
Yeah,
I have
that's it.
this myself,
Yep, perfect.
okay.
Alright, so basically what I was thinking we could probably do is talk briefly about Robert's findings and Bill's findings that were can and can't be reused, and then we can start dialing. We don't have to do it like as a working session, but just, hey, this is what needs to be redone. So what, again, just to review timeline, right? We have a couple things coming up. We have a March 18th select board meeting where they have to vote and sign, the module one, ICC, right? And then we have, our meeting, obviously, in April. We have town meeting in May. Once the town meeting in May, assuming that we get the funding that we just passed the article on, we should be able to really have all of our ducks in a row to download everything and throw it back in MSBA's court as far as module one. That's the goal, right?
So we could have everything ready to, I think our meeting is May 7th and town meeting is May 5th, so we could have everything ready to go by our May 7th meeting.
I mean, I think it would be awesome if we had, 95% of it done, right? I think next, and Stevie, this was on, I know Jeff's not here, but we talked last meeting about, you, him, and Mike helping with the,
The maintenance document.
yeah, sorry, EPQ and MCP. Which were two large parts of the EPQ is the educational profile, questionnaire, and then the, MPC is the maintenance and capital planning. I think that was more Mike LaFrancesca. But Jeff had said last meeting that by the April meeting, you could have that, so, not to throw a bunch of work on his plate, but,
Yep. Yep, we can get that done.
okay,
And what, Mike, did you have a date on that April meeting or
it's the first Wednesday,
first one,
so whatever that is.
Yeah.
It's the second, maybe.
Second,
Okay.
April second?
yes.
Alright, so if we look at, kind of this document, right, and the pages are a little bit, like if you scroll down here, this is page 1, I believe, the note says 10, right? What page does that say? 2?
Two.
Alright,
Want me to make it bigger or tiny?
no, it's fine.
Okay.
So, basically 1 through 10 is an intro and organizational summary, like, so that includes all of our names, like this would be listed, all of us.
This is everybody.
So this is all changed out, so this is, I mean, yeah, Jeff hasn't changed, but some things have to change here, so school committee people have changed. So, this will have to get redone, not the end of the world. I think that's pretty easy to do. I think there's, the next 10 or 11 pages, so keep scrolling down it goes to a blank page and then, yep, and the next section starts.
This page.
There it is.
Okay.
Okay, so this is, Robert, this is where the AI tool really helped as well in regards to what can, you know, what we can reuse. So there's a couple parts to this. There's due diligence for 2 sites. So this whole entire document goes through both Dale Street and Wheelock School because there was no decision made on location. So in my opinion, everything from Wheelock can kind of be scrapped, right, and just crossed out. We've already voted Dale Street's gonna be the place. I don't know specifically, like these reports, I know AI as well as Bill also mentioned in his email, that traffic plans have to be redone because most of this was done in, COVID. Also traffic patterns change over the years, so that would be a study that would have to be redone. But the geotechnical, the soil stuff, the environmental site stuff, for some reason I have it in my head that it's like a 7-year, like things are good for 7 years, but I'm unsure of that personally. My gut tells me we can reuse it because it's relative, you know, 4 years ago, Carl, is when the stuff was done. Anybody know that answer? No.
Like I can ask the guy, but I didn't ask him before the meeting.
Does Carly know that? That would be a good ask for us.
I mean, I would think at like, depending on like where they did it before, right? Like, there may be pieces of it that have to get redone at a minimum if you're gonna consider like the FAF land as part of the scope of the project, cause maybe
Sure.
that wasn't tested. I don't know how far the permeation kind of goes between wherever they drilled the borings to kind of do the testing, but,
Yeah, my gut tells me it wasn't on the FAF land, it was more likely just the Wheelock site. I don't know exactly where it was done either.
so, I mean, I would say at a minimum, this stuff, you have a really good head start, and at best, you don't have to do anything.
Correct. Okay. So if you look through this summary, and again, it was, due diligence, it was phase 1 environmental, phase 2 soils, geotechnical, traffic study, utilities, infrastructure, hazardous materials, existing building code. My gut tells me that the building code's changed, and I know it has in the last 4 years, but it's just become more stringent, so that'll have to get updated. The hazardous materials are what they are, unless we remove some things over the last couple of years in regards to like asbestos tiling or whatever it may be. Traffic study we talked about, geotechnical, I think it's probably the same, soils investigation's the same, and phase 1 environmental, like I think, and that's pretty much what AI told us too, Robert, as well, for the most part, right?
Yeah, when I created the prompts for this too, Mike, I fed in all that information about like the work that the prior committee had done, about site selection and how that was different from the site selection that we have done and how we've already voted on it. So, you know, it's not 100% accurate, right, for anyone who's ever used this to
Right.
decompose a large document. You know that it's not 100% accurate, but it, like, I gave it as much information as I could.
Sure.
And I gave it all the information. I gave it access to our website too, like the public website. I put that in there, so it referenced like it had like all that information on hand. So for anyone who's ever used this before, I created like a custom GPT, and then I wrote a few different prompts for it, and then I uploaded the feasibility study, right? And this is like the 3 different versions of it that came out.
So I mean, yeah, I thought it was odd.
It's pretty good. Like
yeah, I
it's
mean, it's like,
like I'm not a scientist. I don't. This is a lot of this is like beyond my scope, but as far as like breaking it down by the table of contents, like looking at like the sections of the document, I think it's fairly accurate. Like it gives us a good place to start. And it's honestly what they're going to use when we get a firm to do this, right? It's the first thing they're going to do. They're going to do the same thing I do. They're going to feed it into AI, and they're going to use AI to create a lot of it, the stuff that's missing, right? That's the truth of it. Like it's different than what we paid for before.
which means it should cost less money.
Well, it's funny because like I was wondering about that, so I put that in too, and it spit out like this random number, right? I wouldn't count on
Yeah,
that
it's
number
at
being.
$810,000 or something like that.
It said it's like 800. It
Yeah.
would be like the projected cost, given that we spent X amount of dollars on the previous feasibility study, and but, you know, I think the savings are substantial. And there's other districts, other towns that have done this before, that have gone in with an existing feasibility study and, you know, reused pieces of it, so,
So,
Pretty amazing.
yeah.
It's awesome.
It's not the
just in
first time
terms
it's
of
been done.
the big picture, I'm also sort of envisioning that we won't be saying to them, use this, you know, we'll explain what we have and say it and show them, but ultimately, this is their job to
Yeah.
look through and say, we can take this, we can't take that, right? I just wanna be clear that we're not having to find
No, but I
every
think it helps
piece.
us to be informed, right,
We should be
along the process.
informed and we should have an outline
Yeah.
and know what it is, but I also wanna say that this is,
Yeah, they're gonna own it,
they're gonna,
right?
own it,
We
right,
don't wanna be responsible to say, hey, oh, you told us not to put that in, you said
Exactly.
reuse that, right?
right,
That's not what we want.
yeah.
Alright, so if we scroll down, I think we can just kind of like skim some of this document here, like I said, this is kind of, a lot of those topics that I just discussed, keep going, Carly. And then it kind of gets into, so pages, there's a good 170 pages or so of site options.
Okay, do you want me to
Yeah,
look at,
just go to the, keep going.
keep going?
Right.
Is
That's
that
the-
traffic?
the
That's all
stuff.
traffic.
There you go.
Yeah, it's right, it
Okay,
starts after
evaluation
this.
of alternatives.
So what this does is, you know, we had an architect involved and they gave us, you know, and again, I'm a big believer of whoever we hire, we should make it a blank slate. So one of the pages in there, and I know this is kind of hard to see, but it's on, Karen, go down, I think it's a couple pages down, right there. So that's this page, page 35. So like, what Arrow Street had done last time is they laid out like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 separate, you know, first of all, they did it for grades 3 and 5 and grades 4 and 5. So 2, 4, 6 was really the alternates that we had in the PSR. In the PDP, we had 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 options for Dale Street and grades 4 and 5. Like, whoever we hire will look at this, but like, I'm a big believer too, like, hey, like, do your own thing, right? I want something fresh. Like, if it comes out that one of these options is still valuable, then great. But the next 170 pages talks about each one of these options. And it has to be redone.
Yeah, I agree.
It's different size, different everything.
Yeah, right? The only other thing that I would say is that there's the base repair. And I can't remember this, if that was an MSBA requirement or not, but I think it might have been. So the one thing that may not change a little bit is the base repair, where it's basically, don't do anything, bring everything up to code in the building that you have, kind of redo your, you know, you've kind of like got to rehab, if you will, without changing too many
That's called a
walls.
base repair.
More or
Yeah,
less.
it's option A there.
Okay.
It's like just a starting point, like if you had to bring the current facility up to code,
Yeah.
this is what the cost is.
You know, where I'm going with that is that through the next, you know, page 250 is gotta be redone. And then the next 1,300 pages, or I guess it's maybe page 300 or 1,600 pages through 1,900 are the educational plan, which, you know, Jeff and Steve and their team did last time, and my gut tells me that some of that's gonna have to change. But it's gonna be close, right? And the layout's gonna be similar and all that good stuff.
It's like all this is just the documentation for all the different options that they came up with.
This is all just backup stuff. It's not.
Still it on the
Yeah, it goes up to
300, you said?
page 250 is where it goes into.
Okay. Local action.
Keep going, I think it's a little bit more.
Okay.
These are all the public meetings, so we have to sign off on all the meetings we've had.
Oh, all right.
It
So-
starts about,
There's not, yeah, the whole rest of the way is just all backup and like check checklists and documentation. There's no
Yeah.
there's no, and then like all the detailed
And
reports.
here's the educational program.
Yeah, so
Correct,
you
this
just,
starts and goes from there.
Okay.
So I guess like the reality is out of 1,900 pages, there's not, I mean, for us in this room to do, there's not a ton. And there's a lot, if we look at just the Dale Street stuff, we can reuse a lot of it. So, it's really good news.
like, if you just scroll down, like people say, it's just like go down like 100 pages. You just see it's like all the details, like this we kind of walk through a little bit, but they'll get
Okay.
updated. And then once you get past this, it's just, it's like the environmental report, like the very, very
Oh,
detailed,
very-
like,
Okay.
and so you're either gonna use it or not, but
So educational programs. Great configuration. This is a lot to write.
But MSBA wants us to determine those three buckets, right? It wants us to kind of like guess what we think.
Well, I think we just did it. And I think when we're doing interviews,
Oh, that doesn't come before. They don't want us to do that.
that's correct, yeah, so
Oh,
it would
okay, I
be
thought
more
they
like,
wanted us to
when
do
we're
that.
interviewing firms, hey, what can we reuse?
Okay.
Have you looked at what we've done in the past? You know, can we reuse that, and does it help with our pricing? Canada, you know what I mean? That's what I think.
Oh, I thought they wanted like the committee to look at that.
Yeah, so this document here isn't, we don't actually put this together, our OPM and architect put the majority of this together. So this is that post-hire, this is really phase two, like, you know, we just gotta get to a point in phase one. You know, we gotta get through the module one, and then they say, go ahead with the feasibility study, and this is the result of that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Now, there are other steps in that process which you can read on their website, but that's pretty much it. So,
This is what our $1 million bought us.
yeah, exactly.
So, Leo, just to maybe clarify, because I think I took this out of what you said, like, we say feasibility study as in we're hiring one person for a lump sum of $1.5 million, and that's not really the case. You're really hiring a couple different
No.
professions. I'm asking, because it
Yeah,
sounds like you've been
correct.
through it.
Yep, we're hiring, first step is to hire an owner's project manager to help us engage in the process to build this out. So, and they keep us on track, and they keep us on task, and they keep us on the MSBA roadmap. And then the designer, who's like the architect and everything else, gets us into, you know, all those schematics you saw, the layouts, all of that information.
Preliminary costs.
But just so I'm clear, the OPM is not in the same company as the architect?
Correct.
They're a separate
No,
person?
a different, correct.
Totally different, okay.
Yep, they're our representative. We hire them to represent us through this process. And if everything goes well, they continue to represent us through the construction process.
Correct.
And Leo, you mentioned a subcommittee to choose the OPM, is that what you said?
After phase one, and then we get moved on to the process of, I would imagine it's phase two, which is where I'm at right this second. So I just sat on a meeting last Wednesday to engage with, with MSBA. We've been, selected to move forward onto that, and now we're into the OPM selection process. And that first step is for the SBC to come together and select like a 4 to 5 member selection committee to go through that process, write the RFS, which is extremely scripted. You have to use their template, which is on the website. You have to do it in Word, track changes, and you work with MSBA's person to help get it perfect without touching their language. So I believe Christine when it says do not touch their language. Their language is
Yeah.
they do not want any language changes of theirs. So
Weird about it.
it's a very scripted process, which we have everything we submitted last time. So I expect that to go very quickly for us. And then you go into the selection process, which is you got to post on OSD's website, the public register, post in the newspaper. Very standard procurement process. Takes you kind of allot 2 to 3 weeks for that process. You interview people. You have to have them come on site. They can ask questions. There's a whole procurement process for that. And then, whoever our MCPPO person is on that committee will help facilitate that, with the town. And then, we go through the interview process, recommended, you interview 3 people, preferably in one day, and then you get that person, on board, and you award that piece.
So as a
And that's-
whole, I get that this is a subcommittee that starts it, but does the whole committee get to see the interviews with the OPM?
I would imagine they're public and can certainly, be in the room, sure.
I think
I
that'd be
think that's how we
important.
did it last time.
Okay, yeah,
I think that's how we did it last time. We held them in the, library of the high school, if I'm not mistaken,
okay.
and had like 3 or 4 firms come in, over a course of a couple of hours.
Great. I think that's important, that everybody.
Mike, just like we're planning to, we're gonna be ready for module 1, cause
Yeah.
we're gonna have all this ready. We get through town meeting in May, we kinda submit, we know we have to go before the MSBA to actually hear if we can move on to module 2.
Mm-hmm.
But there's nothing that will hold us back from getting prepped for module 2, just like we're doing now.
That's kind of what we're doing right
Yeah,
now, right?
right?
Yeah,
Exactly, so we can get,
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you.
no,
The problem with module 2 is a lot of this work, 1,922 pages, like, we're not gonna put this together.
no, that's the outcome of
That's
Yeah.
module 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the outcome, but the whole selection process, getting the RFS, if we have to use MSBA language anyway, like, there's no reason why, even if we don't have the approval of us moving forward to module 2, to start getting prepped.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
Mhm.
us trying to always be ahead of the game
yeah, I mean,
in the paperwork.
exactly, the paperwork wise, I 100% agree. The architect comes into a big part through note 2, because, alright, hey, we want building for 4th and 5th grade, we want it at Dale Street School. Also, we can use the FAF land maybe as well, give us options. So like, we're gonna have a bunch of meetings,
Right.
Input from town member, like all that stuff, before putting a document like this together, because we can do it in a bubble, but we're gonna have a fail vote, right? That's not what we want. So, no matter how prepped we are, it's still gonna take some time, just to get that process into like,
Well, to get it going, right?
yeah. The other thing about it, which ends up happening, which is nice, is that once the OPM is hired too, they run the meetings for us. So their agendas are pretty straight on. You don't have me creating an ad hoc agenda every month anymore, thank God. You know what I mean? Like,
No, it's working out great for us.
yeah.
We're loving it.
So like,
The OPM will be handling a lot of that.
yeah, and a lot of that will be prescribed by MSBA because there's steps that we have to go through.
Correct.
Um,
The designer selection process is that is very involved. And that MSBA has a designer selection board that, we send representation to. So that is not necessarily decided by us, by the way. So,
Correct.
Oh.
we
We have a say, we just don't have the full.
we have votes, but we have votes that we send from our committees. We send people to vote on that, but they have a designer selection board that we work with on that process.
I think we have like 2 out of the 7
But they don't
votes.
select the OPM for us, we select that.
Correct. But the designer, they have a very active role in.
But they like.
If it's the same process, which I believe it is, from the previous time, which I was on it, they're very, very knowledgeable, and they take our input really well. So, I mean, I wouldn't say we're absent from the process, but it's a pretty involved process.
Alright, I just wanna thank you for, the people who've gone through this, Bill and Robert specifically, and like kind of looked at this document. I'm sure most everyone looked at it already, but like, this is ultimately, when we get to this point, and it's accepted, I mean, next steps are really this getting down to the nitty gritty and, hopefully having costs associated with a single building that you wanna build. That's the fun part. How gonna take a quick step back and just review module 1 and where we're at. So the initial compliance certificate is on 3/18.
Do you want me to stop sharing?
If you want, that's fine. Carolyn, you said you were gonna be, I'm away that day.
What day?
At the select board meeting on
Yes,
3/18.
on the 18th, and also part of that is a select board member who will be on the SBC for them to do at that meeting, choose somebody.
So that's where I was going next, because the school building committee form, like I can easily fill that out, Christine, and send that to you. My only blank that I had was, the local chief executive officer. We don't have that person on this committee yet.
No, you will,
Okay.
yeah. It'll be whoever the select board member
Do
chooses.
do you wanna have a conversation before that meeting? I mean, you already know, but there's a couple of other appointees we may need. We talked about that at the last meeting.
Yes, you need, facilities director, Rob Quinn, and.
And that was it, I had
Is that
two,
it?
select board member.
Was that just the two? Okay.
Yeah, and the facilities individual,
Okay, great.
Yep.
And if you want, I can fill in the rest and just send it to you, it's a Word
Okay.
document.
That's fine. How long do you think you wanna talk about?
not long.
Okay.
We just wanna, bring everybody up to speed where we are, but then I think the select board obviously will have their own discussion about who wants to be
Who
on
wants
the
to
SBC. Do you want, I'm happy to go through the steps, when we're about to send in documents, give a little overview about that. I don't think I'll go into each document in detail because.
No, I think maybe just
You go over
if you
people's
print
heads.
out the module 1,
Yeah,
We can
what's,
put it in their packet so they can read it ahead of time and be ready.
okay,
it's like a 3-page, right
Right.
off the
Yep.
MSBA website. If you just printed that out, say this is what we're working on right now,
yep,
like that's the update,
okay,
as far as I'm concerned. That'd be great.
yeah,
It's a really busy agenda that night, so.
yeah, so they would appreciate that.
Well, yes, and I need to figure out, if we can have you right at 6. We're doing fire chief interviews that night.
Yeah, I saw that listed in fire chief,
Yeah.
yeah, okay,
Okay, so I'll work on getting you right.
yeah.
Alright, just ripping through the rest of the module 1. The EPQ, which is the educational profile, questionnaire, as well as, the maintenance and capital planning. Why don't we review that at our April meeting, right? And then that can be that'll be done, or close to it.
Wait, that's something they're gonna bring to us to look at and see.
That's my
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just wanna make sure we're,
And obviously, Steve, you reach out and I'll
Yeah.
talk to Jeff, I know he's not here, but.
Yeah, that's okay, I've already emailed him.
Okay.
Yeah, April 2nd meeting.
And then the online projection tool, it's a questionnaire, so again, I think that's gonna have to be done by Jeff, in the schools. And then that's it, so, I mean, really, we're just kinda getting our ducks in a row. So next meeting, I was thinking, again, high-level review of module 1, what do we have done? So this will be in April, so hopefully we'll have 2 added members to our committee. That'll be done, we'll have the local, we'll have the compliance certificate signed, we'll review the EPQ, and maybe the projection tool, and, the maintenance and capital planning. And then that'll be it, we'll kind of prep ourselves for town meeting. The one other thing that I wanted to bring up, was the MSBA sent us a separate questionnaire. And I don't have a copy of it, what I'll do is I'll email it to you guys. Why don't we review that as well, next meeting, just because I just got it yesterday.
so it's not listed in their module.
It's a separate questionnaire.
Separate
Basically,
questionnaire.
what I read it quickly, I might have sent it to you just like at maybe at 6:45
You
tonight.
did.
Okay. I believe it's more of, kind of more of the same. They wanna make sure how many grades, what school we're replacing, we're aiming to replace, that type of stuff. It's pretty basic questions. They're just confirming basically, our statement of interest is accurate, is what it sounded like to me. They're reconfirming what we wrote in our statement of interest to get into the program is accurate. So, ideally, we have like most everything done, you know, in by end of April, let's call it. So if we get our vote and our money, we can press send and all that stuff.
Cool.
Yeah. Anything else anyone wanted to go through?
I sent out the kindergarten number. It's just a disclaimer. I think I put this when I sent it out, but
I saw that, yeah.
that is the number of kids who currently live in town who are eligible for kindergarten. It's very different from the number of kids who will actually register for kindergarten. I think in Medfield, and that includes kids like who will go to private school. That includes people who will not send their kids to kindergarten. So that is like the largest number that it could possibly be for the next year, right? Those are. I did a like a public records request for kids with birthdays that would make them eligible for next year. So
Thank you for that.
that's how you get that number. And you could do it. We could do it for any year. Like we could do one to see who's going to be. I mean, but like historically, I think that you know the school district would probably tell you that people have moved to town when their kids are in kindergarten, when their kids are in first grade. I'm sure there's a lot of move-ins, and they could give you more accurate numbers. But that's why that number seems so low.
Mhm.
But I know we had talked about that kindergarten number and how that might be an important number for us to have. It's not that important, and it's not really going to give us that much information, right? I just pulled it for my own district too, and I give it to all the elementary schools in town so that we have that number. We have less kids going to private school historically, and we have less move-ins, and I just know that based on historical data. So I know that like my number is a little bit more spot on as far as like what my projected enrollment is, but I think this number is a little bit further off from what it will be. So I got it. I sent it. It's not super helpful.
Well, I
but
mean,
we have it, right?
It is
more
what it
information.
is. It's exactly
it's
how
one
you
more-
described it.
Yeah.
Thank you for getting it.
Just a disclaimer.
It's one more data point in us looking at the big picture, so I think
Yeah.
you have different data points, you look at the big picture and decide enrollment, and it's great, that as many as we can have, so, thanks.
Maybe two quick ones, Mike. The Boston Globe article Jeff sent around, I saw it was good.
Yeah, you guys,
The MSBA website, all their data kind of supports the same, idea that costs are going up pretty quick, and that's withholds any comments on tariffs or anything else that'll muck up everything as well. Yeah, I think to the extent you engage with people in town, like my point of view on that is not like, gee, it sucks that the last vote didn't go through. It's more, hey, it's really important that we pay attention to this because
it's
we
gonna
gotta
go up
be.
again.
Well, not it's gonna go up again, but this project needs to be successful, so the town has to be prepared that this is gonna be a big bill, and like there's a lot that's gonna be out of our control.
I was reading
And
through
so-
some of my notes tonight, and I like the fact that you continue to bring up, we need to educate everybody that this is going to be a very expensive project. Like, reiterate it over and over and over.
It's a little bit like, and I think at warrant committee, select board, is that like everyone should be speaking to the same script of, this is gonna be really expensive, we need to prepare now for it and do everything we can to be part of the process, so when we get to the finish line, everyone knows exactly what's gonna be in front of them, so it's not a surprise.
Do you think there's enough data for Steve on the warrant committee to, remember you did that whole letter and you talked to everybody, present all that information to take a new look at that? Because I agree, I think it's going to be significantly higher, and there might be enough data for him to sort of at least, well, again, it's always ballpark, but
If we were gonna ask them to do something like that, it would have to be after town meeting, right? Like, it would have to be in the future after they've finalized all the budgets and things they're working on, cause they have, I think, right, still a ton of meetings right now.
yeah, I know
until town
they're
meeting.
super
Yeah.
busy now, I'm just looking in terms of us in the future as we begin to frame it, cause that information got shared in many different places.
Yeah, there may be a little bit of opportunity too, I don't know, town meeting, right, I assume that there'll be two articles, one for the feasibility, one for the down payment fund, if we're heading to that
Yeah.
end. And so that'll not be an opportunity to tell everyone at town meeting, like, hey, listen, this is why we're doing it. You've seen the Boston Globe article, you've seen some of the other communications, like we handed out a letter this time last night, like, you should expect the project to be materially more expensive. We do not want it to be a surprise.
Right.
It's not us, it's everything around us. And so, like, if you are really concerned, show up and be a part of the process now, so you can have influence, and don't wait till the end.
I agree.
And that was my only other point, just for this group, like, I've tried to, when things have gotten off course on social media, I've tried to step in and course correct in a very factual way. If anyone feels I ever misspeak, or I'm not, like, I'm speaking for myself, because I can't represent the committee, but if anybody thinks I'm over the line, or I said something I shouldn't have said, like, just text me, and I'll retract or stop doing it, but I'm just trying to keep the dialogue on course at, like, we're looking forward and not trying to look backwards.
I wanna say thank you.
Yeah, that's, I agree with that.
I'd say
Actually, I gotta say that your comments and the presentations you've done on finances, I've almost asked if I can hire you to come and give that to other places. I really find it very, very helpful, so please don't feel that way.
Okay, well, thank you, but,
But thanks for bringing it up, because I think that's important.
yeah, I just don't want I want everybody to read it, and be like, shit, that's, like, why is he doing that? Is he not speaking for me? And I'm not trying to speak for anyone, but,
I actually, I'd
You've been
reframe
spot
it a
on every
little,
time.
because we talked a lot about, we couldn't do open comments with our Facebook postings because of the open meeting law and all of us maybe discussing it, that kind of stuff. But, and I totally agree with Bill, the thing is people say things and he does a great job of framing it accurately and then leading them to watch a meeting or get the update or whatever you need to get informed. And you always put a good disclaimer that you're speaking for yourself, but I actually am fine if you want to speak for the SBC and say as a member, and if you want to do that role, which you are doing,
yeah, like I said, I have a high degree of sensitivity, and I'm a little thin-skinned. I think everybody on the committee is doing really great work and putting a lot of time and effort, and when people take shots and no one's here to actually weigh in publicly, it's just a little, I think, unfair, so.
well, I don't, bad news travels faster than good news at times, or correct news at times, so I find it really helpful because it's frustrating to read it and I'll be like, no, look here and you'll see the real number, or look here, you'll see the study, or you'll watch a meeting, whatever the case may be, so.
I think if there's any validate, like, there's been people who I think historically have had different perspectives on both sides, who have spoken up and said, no, I actually feel pretty well informed this time around, so that actually makes me feel good that we're kind of getting our message out there, so,
Awesome.
anyway.
That
Alright.
is good.
I appreciated the speed at which you replied.
Yeah, same.
My wife was looking at it and she was like, somebody posted, no, hold on, somebody replied, and I was like, oh, who replied?
And,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's really
I'm sure it's
fast
good.
on the reply. I'm just looking and like, there's
Well,
one. Yep,
that's
it's
important,
okay.
right? Because like if somebody
Right.
puts something out there and then somebody doubles it, right, or
well, it's,
wants to
it gets out of
reply
control
with
pretty quick.
something
Yeah, that's the problem, yeah.
I promise you, I'm not, like, refreshing every 5 minutes.
You mean
Besides Concerned Citizens of Medfield, is there any other websites that people are seeing information on, that we need to sort of be following? I'm happy to follow it so we can.
Yeah, not that I know of.
Okay.
I mean, Chris McHugh has a great readership in
Yeah.
her newsletter,
Right.
so I don't know if there's ever like an opportunity for us to put. I mean, her readership is above 1,000, right? I mean, which is like for a
2,000,
small, it's
right.
2,000. That's for our town, like that's huge, right? She reaches 2,000 people a week. So I don't know if she would ever consider putting something from the committee into her newsletter. I think it's a good way to reach maybe a tapped or untapped audience. And if there's a lot
And
of
she
people
has, like I asked her for the constant contact, she put that into it for us, so she's been, very helpful in that, in sort of, telling people like about the forums and the surveys and constant contact. I actually was thinking of asking her to put another constant contact little thing in there for people, to get some more people signed up.
it's our information, and it's just asking for help, so.
I think we're reaching more people than we realize through the videos and some of the other stuff, because
Yeah.
the amount of people that go up to me, they're like, oh, I saw the video, I saw the video, I saw the video, it's, even though they're not commenting or liking, people are saying that.
Yeah, I get a lot of feedback on the videos
And just the
too.
fact that they're out there, I think it shows a
Which
transparency.
was Bill's idea, I just wanna clarify,
Oh,
it was Bill's.
it's-
Well, actually, Mike, you wanted us to do videos of ourselves way in the beginning, remember that? To
We
introduce
explained
ourselves?
that, I understand.
And we all said no, but these videos of the, just recapping the meeting, I've gotten a lot of positive feedback from people that it helps, so, that's good.
Good stuff, thank you. Let me just make sure we don't have any, outside questions. If there's anything else, just, speak up.
Caroline, how's the feedback been for the neighborhood
Yeah,
captains?
so, you okay with the communication update?
Yeah.
So, 7 people have responded in terms of being neighborhood captains so far, and what I've done is as soon as I see them, and I do check it frequently, I send them a thank you and a response. And I told everybody in the response that after our meeting tonight, I will reach out to them again, once we sort of talk about, do we wanna go down this path of neighborhood captains? It's great we have 7 people, that's not enough in terms of, covering the whole town. So I was gonna talk with the subcommittee about, how do we, encourage more people? But then I also wanted to know sort of, is everybody in favor of us
Yep.
taking, some more steps, which would be, I think, probably a Zoom with the people, if I'm allowed to Zoom.
Yeah, as long as it's not a quorum, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
it's
I'd
fine.
like to Zoom and talk to them about, here's some ideas that we're thinking. I thought we would maybe write, some kind of a town meeting sort of brief handout. I know, I guess, Michelle, we can't hand them out. Did anybody clarify what?
That's what Mike said, to me. Pete said he was gonna follow up with them and see if he could get him to
Okay.
change his mind.
Well, we could have the neighborhood captains, use that and spread it out, that kind of thing. So I just kinda need a sense from the big committee here about how far you want us to go. Do you want us to start organizing it and do Zooms or something,
I mean, I think,
I don't know if there's a way to try to get like captains within some of our apartment complexes too. I just wanna make sure we have their voices as well.
Yes.
I don't know, I just think about that a lot.
I think you start now and just say, hey, thanks for responding. I'd love to set up, half-hour Zoom to get you informed on just where we're at in the process. We're in module 1, this is what we're doing, we're gonna need you as we get further down the line, we'd love to keep you informed, and, this is what you can share with people now, and, stay tuned for more
Right.
information as we get further along.
So maybe, the 4 of us will talk more afterwards, but we might be having a Zoom, there might be 2 of us in it.
Yeah.
And just talking, and I'll tell the neighborhood captains they can come, and then maybe plan one a week or 2 later, and they, can come or not, and just keep updating and asking them to spread news in whatever way they.
yeah,
can.
where to find our information on the web, right? That's number
Yeah.
1, like, this is where it is, but also, maybe they have some good ideas of how they can help. Hey, I'm going to, XYZ, and there's gonna be 200 parents there, I'm gonna hand something out, or, I don't know, like,
Yep,
if they're volunteering, that's awesome.
yep,
And so, like, they wanna help, so, like, if they have ideas, let's listen to them.
okay,
But I agree with what Bill said, generally, like, hey, thanks for volunteering, here's where we're at. Module 2, we're really gonna need, some help, getting some word out, especially when it comes to costs, but like, hey, the design, we're gonna put a, hypothetically, 4-story building on Adams Street here, and it won't be 4 stories, but you know what I mean, like,
right, yes.
like, is that too much is that gonna be an eyesore for the town? Like, things like that, we're gonna wanna have feedback on.
Right, as we get further along.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
alright.
So
So
we'll
motion
get
to
the next
dismiss.
meeting.
Second.
I'll start, Mike Weber, yes?
Michelle Kirkby, yes.
Tony Papatonis, yes.
Teresa James, yes.
Bill Warner, yes.
Bob Meany, yes?
Carolyn Casey, yes.
John Messina, yes.
Robert Worth, yes.
Meredith Chamberlain, yes.
Thanks, Meredith, I hope you feel better.
Thank you.